Welcome everybody back into Nerd Sesh. As always, I'm Carson Breber and alongside me is Logan Camden, and you already know the drill. We have two amazing playoff basketball games to talk about today because playoff basketball is just amazing. Logan, we have the Indiana Pacers closing out the Cavs to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals. Super fun game that we will talk about, but of course we have to start with one of the best basketball games I've ever seen. And I don't think that is any hyperbole, any exaggeration. Like, I love both the Nuggets and the Thunder. I love watching them both play. So maybe it's a little heightened for me, but good God, that was just peak hoops, man. And specifically, it's one of the best clutch battles between two absolute forces that I've ever seen. SGA creates 15 straight points for the Thunder down the stretch. Jokic scores 11 straight points for the Nuggets. But it ends up being the Thunder who pull through on the back of that collective clutch performance, led, of course, by SGA. They have to come back for the second consecutive game, not from a big deficit, but nevertheless from a deficit in the fourth quarter, winning in the clutch where they couldn't in games 1 and 3 earlier in this series. What do you have to say about this Thunder win, Logan?
I mean, it really is down to the clutch execution for me. That's where I think this game was decided. I didn't like some of the defense and some of the easy shots that the Nuggets allowed Oklahoma City to get to late. Lou Dort walks into some pretty open threes. He also just got hot in Denver. Could not create offense down the stretch. I mean, they completely stalled out.
Well, I don't
Not
know if
Jokic.
that's true. They had one guy who was scoring every time just because he's a god.
I'm just saying everybody else. And they had a really long streak in this game without a make in the fourth quarter. They couldn't generate anything, and so I thought it was their inability to generate offense, and then I thought they just conceded some open looks. Jalen Williams gets a wide-open corner three late in this game, and SGA comes through big and hits that mid-range and one. So I thought OKC executed better down the stretch, and it was Denver's inability, I think, around Jokic to get any offense out of those guys. Man, this was a horrendous Michael Porter Jr. game. This was a really bad Russ game, too. I mean, there are just some really ugly, nasty moments in this one. And the two biggest boxes got checked for Denver in this game, man. You got to have a great Jokic game normally, right? And they've been winning without Jokic having these great games. But when he gives you this, you expect to win. And then I thought Jamal had some big shots in the fourth quarter. And I thought he almost did enough. I thought it was a good Jamal game. And normally when you check both of those boxes, you're going to win, but I thought Oklahoma City just executed better in the fourth quarter, and Denver's offense stalled out for a little bit, and OKC found open looks, man. I also thought that Denver's defense, like I said, could have been better in the fourth, too. I thought they allowed them to get some easy looks, and they're creating advantages. This team they're really hard to defend, too. Hardenstein gets an alley-oop. You're just out of rotation sometimes with this team, but OKC finally executed better down the stretch, man. It's so crazy watching Denver lose a game when Jokic plays like this, man. I mean, the fading shot at the top of the key late in the shot clock, that is a ridiculous shot to hit when the stakes are that high. And he's doing everything in this game, man. Draining threes, hitting floaters, getting everything to go. It's amazing that Oklahoma City wins a game like this when Jokic plays like the best player on the planet. I thought Jokic was the best player in the game, but OKC executed better down the stretch.
Jokic was incredible. It's one of the best games of his career, and that is a crazy high bar. It's one of the best performances you will ever see in a loss. But down the stretch, SGA was every bit as good. When it came to clutch time, they were both perfect. And the difference was one guy was perfect, and his teammates could also knock down the shots that he created for them. And the other guy is passing out to MPJ off double teams who couldn't make a shot all night. But I thought the Thunder's clutch execution was phenomenal. I feel like you're underselling it when you're talking about Denver's defense, which, by the way, I thought was actually quite good again in this game. I've been so impressed with their defensive level
good
throughout this
most
series.
Of the game. I was just disappointed with some of the shots they allowed them to get to late. I just felt like some of them were too easy.
What I will say is I don't know why you go away from the zone on some of those clutch possessions. And there comes a point where I probably would have just been doubling SGA outright because he was so special as a shot maker. But then again, they do double SGA on the possession where he swings to Dort, who swings to J-Dub, and you get a wide open three, the possession that you're talking about where iHeart gets the lob from SGA. That's because he's collapsing the defense and they're helping aggressively. So you can't guard everything at once, man. And if Shai is going to be as ridiculously great as a one-on-one scorer score as he was down the stretch of this game, where he's going at Christian Brown, he's getting into the paint, but he's also just showing you some incredible tough shot making with the shot that he makes over Jamal Murray. He does really walk into an open pull-up three, but Denver's been relatively willing to concede that to him because he hasn't been hitting them.
That's a possession that I was mad at too. That's another one where I thought Jokic should have been high up at the level. There's a difference in that shot. It's a completely different shot to me. An SGA step back three, I'm very okay with him taking because he's fading away from the basket, and it's just harder to find the touch on that shot. A walk-in pull-up three, that's basically a mid-range jumper for SGA. That's the difference to me. I'm okay with conceding a step-back three to SGA, but I'm not okay with conceding a walk-in. And don't get me wrong, maybe Jokic steps up, maybe SGA just kicks it to Hartenstein because they have the smaller defender on him and they still end up scoring on that possession, but that is a possession that I'm talking about during the end of this game where I thought Jokic should have been at the level and should have contested that. I don't want to concede a shot like that late in this game because it's a different shot. That's easier for SGA in my opinion.
Oh, it's absolutely different from the step back three. He has been off from deep overall, but you're right. That is a much more comfortable in rhythm shot for him. So if there's one defensive possession to criticize from Denver, that would be the one. But overall, I just thought it was outstanding shot making and individual scoring from SGA. And then he was making all the right reads late and everybody around him was making the shots, which is just such a huge reversal from how this game started for SGA, where it felt like he was again confounded by the zone. And like he's been up and down as a decision maker throughout this series, but in the first quarter, he's forcing drives into packed paints. He's seeing multiple bodies and he's turning the ball over. He's forcing some really difficult finishes. He starts this game 1 of 6 with 4 turnovers, and then he ends it with the performance of his postseason career, I would say, down the stretch. Just absolutely outstanding stuff from him. But you have to credit the collective because this is an OKC team that at times has just looked really uncomfortable in these big spots against Denver in this series. You think about not just SGA and some questionable decision-making in earlier games, forcing the issue some, not being at his best. The supporting cast, guys just not looking comfortable making shots off the catch. Lou Dort gives you 3 massive three-pointers in the fourth quarter when he had been horribly off for this entire series and the entire playoffs. Like, I talked about how after last game, they needed to be closing with Caruso. They needed to be going with Caruso over Dort. And it was just like Lou flipped a switch where in the first half of this game, even into the third quarter, he's missing everything from 3. He looks uncomfortable out there. He's got some out of control drives, a couple bad turnovers, and then he just locked in and all of a sudden is so confidently, so comfortably stepping into these shots and making them at a great clip, which like he should be capable of doing. This is a guy who has shot 40% from deep in back-to-back seasons. He's a really good three-point shooter, but he was so deep in his own head. And then at the biggest possible moment, like this season-defining stretch when you're down 9, he's the guy who steps up and is making big shots. That was so massive. J-Dub hits the huge 3 that is created for him by the SGA double down the stretch. I just can't think of a more significant way for OKC to win a basketball game. Like, especially within the context of them now doing this in back-to-back games where Denver has not just been playing them to a draw through 3 quarters. Denver has taken the lead, and specifically Denver has done it like in the third quarter of these last 2 games. We're like, oh man, are they starting to pull away? And instead it's OKC who's sharper down the stretch. It's OKC who really executes in the clutch. We know that they can blow teams out. We know that they're capable of winning these games by 25 points because they're just that great. The test in this series was going to be, can they gut out these clutch games against Denver? And early in the series, the returns were no. They fumble game 1 away. They really struggle down the stretch in game 3. And in this one, it just felt like they were so comfortable. They were so great. And that all starts with SGA, but it really was top to bottom for the Thunder. I just think Denver's the best possible test that they could have faced because you're going up against the best player in the world. You're going up against the best offensive player in the world. You're going up against the offense that has been so proven in the clutch, that is so battle tested, that is made of grown ass men who have been here before, who have won the title. And you're the kids who are extremely talented, but you haven't been here before. And you have to beat them in the biggest moments to move forward. That's what they did in this one. I just think it's special stuff because as talented as they are, man, it's still not normal to do this so young. Like, they love the stat. They would be the youngest team to win the title since the 77 Blazers. Teams this young don't win games this big throughout the scope of NBA history. The Thunder are the exception to that rule, and they showed that tonight.
I want to give SGA a lot of credit for doing what he did down the stretch. Dort, too, early in the fourth quarter, and this collective defense all game. I do think it's important to mention like how much of this I do put on the inability of Denver's supporting cast to like manufacture offense late though. Jokic in the fourth quarter goes 4 of 6. Players not named Jokic go 1 of 15 from the floor. It's like, I mean, literally no one else can hit a shot. Murray goes cold. He goes 1 of 6. He's the lone one who does end up hitting a shot. MPJ goes 0 of 3. And like, again, I want to give credit to the Thunder defense as well. But, oh my gosh, like, this was they grinded to a halt. Like, players not named Jokic. Like, nobody else could get it going. And I think that's as big of a component of this as OKC stepping up to the challenge. And I think they did a good job defensively, too. Like, again, I think that's where you also have to give credit to the Thunder defense. I don't want to downplay it and just say that they didn't pull up. But Russ is completely off. I mean, oh my God, dude. I cringed.
He used
like,
all of his shooting
my
magic
skin
already in these playoffs.
Crawling watching those two air balls, man. Watching MPJ not even come close. And, like, I don't know why Jokic is deferring to him late either, dude. It's like you just hit a crazy, ridiculous contested fader, man. Just do it again.
I know. If you're getting doubled, man, like he's going to make the right basketball play.
I thought he should have passed it to Brown on that possession, actually, on the weak side. I thought he was probably the better target just because Brown, I think, would have been a little bit more open. But I feel for Jokic in this game, man. This is a legendary performance, and I don't say that lightly. Like, this is the work he was doing on the glass on top of just the straight up scoring, the putbacks, the grown man big body shit he was doing on the inside was huge in this game. And I just feel for the guy, man. It's weird. It's balanced out a little bit though, ironically, right? Like Jokic, they win a couple of games where Jokic isn't as good, and ironically he goes superhuman in this one and they end up losing it. But I do feel for the guy. I really thought the Denver supporting cast let them down in the fourth quarter in a big way, man.
It's one of the best playoff performances of Jokic's career. I think about games 4 and especially game 5 against Minnesota last year. That's probably still number 1 for me. There's some incredible performances in the title run. I mean, just ridiculous stuff. He goes 30, 20, 10 against the Heat. He drops 53 on the Suns with crazy efficiency. But this is somewhere in that top 5. I think it's better than what he did in game 1 because as great as he was in the fourth quarter of game 1 and as monstrous as his box score production was, and I want to be clear, he was fantastic in that game. Through 3 quarters, the Thunder were really making him work. He wasn't super efficient from the field. He had 7 turnovers in that game. Like, it was more difficult. This was the first game all series where I've looked at Jokic and I've gone, he's comfortable. He's getting whatever he wants out there against the best defense in the world. The defense that has given him far more trouble over these last 3 playoff games than I've ever seen a defense do to him. Like, he is coming off of the worst 3-game stretch of his playoff career. He comes out and just delivers a masterpiece. You mentioned the grown man dominance on the glass. I mean, that was a big part of it, right? And that was an advantage that Denver had in this game that kept them in it despite their poor outside shooting. Jokic was rebounding his own misses. He was just consistently living on the offensive glass and scoring efficiently off putbacks, but also the 3-point shot, which had been super off for him in this series. He came into this game shooting 21% from deep against OKC. He goes 5 of 7 from deep, and he's doing it in every way, man. He's doing it off the pop. He does it out of inverted pick and roll when they go under. He does it just with that special 1-of-1 Jokic shot making that you saw from him to tie this game up at 103 apiece. And he's also like absolutely perfect on those touch shots, which had been off for him. He was shooting 40% in the paint outside the restricted area in this series. That number is always 60% for Jokic. He literally has the best paint touch we've ever seen. Those shots had been off. OKC had done a great job of challenging them. But in this game, like, the runners were automatic from him. That was special. He was just doing everything offensively at such an extremely high level and was at his absolute best in the clutch. So it is a shame that Denver doesn't come out of this game with a win, considering that Jokic was that monumentally great. But I do think that it's just such a testament to OKC. I mean, they score on every possession down the stretch. Like, it's incredibly difficult to beat a team when they do that. Denver had to be perfect, and Jokic was, but his teammates were not. And that's where I do agree. He was absolutely let down. Now, I thought that Jamal was on his way to one of those special Jamal Murray
So did I,
performances.
man, especially
That
in the
third
third
quarter,
quarter. Mm-hmm.
third quarter, you just look at him and you're like, oh man, he is locked in. And when he is locked in, he just needs that sliver of separation. And there's really not anything you can do about it. That's what makes the Murray Jokic pick and roll so unstoppable when Jamal is at his best. Like, you can't blitz it because you're not going to give Jokic a 4-on-3. You're not going to give Jokic a free floater off the rolls. So if he can just get a little bit of separation coming around that screen, he can be automatic on those pull-up jumpers. And he was. But then, as you said, in the fourth quarter, he really cooled down. But at the end of the day, I mean, he is certainly not the culprit. Russell Westbrook, 1 of 7 from the field, 0 of 3 from deep. And let me tell you, it was a bad 0 of 3 from deep. I think 2 of those were air balls. Christian Brown, 2 of 8 from deep. Michael Porter Jr., 0 of 5 from deep. Aaron Gordon, 1 of 5 from deep. Peyton Watson, 1 of 3 from deep. I thought we got a lot of Peyton Watson in this game.
Really
he made some great effort plays.
Yeah,
but
I really like Peyton Watson, man. But just the
he does a lot of good.
He is an awesome energy guy. I don't mind having Peyton Watson in the rotation. I can honestly deal with some of his offensive limitations. He is an awesome, you need guys like that on your basketball team that are just going to come out there and play super hard and give everything they've got. I feel like Peyton Watson just leaves everything he's got on the floor, and I really admire and appreciate that in him. He's always going 110%.
He's an absolute dog, and he comes up with 3 offensive rebounds and 2 steals in this game. Like, he was making the effort plays. The thing is, in that spot, they really needed somebody who could knock down an outside shot in this game, and they didn't have him.
MPJ has been, and like, I do feel for the guy with the shoulder injury. I mean, it's just hard dealing with any injury like that, especially, well, any injury period is hard to deal with, but specifically the injury that MPJ is dealing with, where he's, they're saying he's struggling putting his arms over his head, and that's brutal. I mean, especially when your primary value is a jump shooter. So
yeah,
I do feel for him, but it just sucks, man. And that is where I would be critical of Denver's roster building in terms of just versatility and having guys to turn to. Like, for example, and this isn't a perfect one-to-one comp, but this archetype, like just a catch and shooter, like, it would have been nice if Denver could have put in even like a Sam Merrill, right? Like, I'll use the Cavs and their depth as an example, or just like a reliable shooter, man. Like, they just don't have.
Strother's the closest thing that they have to that, and he gets some minutes in this game, but still not a guy you want to be playing big playoff minutes. MPJ, and this sucks to say because, like, you have to understand the context of the injury, but he very well may be the difference between Denver being up in this series and Denver losing this series. Last 2 games, both of which have gone down to the wire, he has given you 5 points on 2 of 14 shooting. And it's been a struggle these entire playoffs. And obviously, when you have an AC joint sprain, like, yeah, it's going to really affect your shooting. But like you said, that is just so overwhelmingly where his value comes from. It is from being one of the best jump shooters on the planet at his size, such a lethal weapon playing off of the Jokic-Murray 2-man game and off of Jokic doubles. When he can't make those shots and he's giving you 51% true shooting in these playoffs, 9 points per game, then all of the other issues that he has become a bigger deal. And we've talked about he's not going to be as consistently engaged defensively and on the glass. He's not a high IQ basketball player. He's out there to make shots at a special level. And he has been flat out incapable of doing that in these playoffs.
And what sucks too is when you look at Denver's lineups together, it's compounded because a lot of their players that they rely on that, aren't the big four, they all have that general same archetype and same shortcomings, right? Like, Brown isn't the most reliable shooter. Like, Gordon isn't either. I know he's 40% this year. He's been great as a shooter, but
I do think he's pretty damn reliable at this point. He had one off game today. I shouldn't lump him in.
You're right. I shouldn't lump him in with these guys, but it's like Brown, Westbrook, Watson, and so it's like
that trio. It's that trio. They've always had to play one of those guys big minutes, and they're not reliable.
Oh, and it's just also what I was going to say is it's just redundant too, right? It's harder playing those guys together, like, because you could go, I want Peyton Watson out there and in for MPJ, but it's like, what's stopping Oklahoma City from just like clogging the lane up and throwing 4 guys at Jokic because you're not afraid any of those guys punishing you? So Denver's just got to address that, man. I'm not ready to write them off in this series by any means. I would never count out Jokic. This game really reinstilled a lot of faith in me with Jokic that he can get back to this level no matter the circumstances, because it had been a disastrous series for the most part outside of game one leading up to this. And this gives me a little bit more confidence that Denver could push this 7. And that is where I think it's going to happen, man. I think Denver's going to send this the distance. I do.
Interesting. It's hard to win in Denver. It's probably the biggest home court advantage that we have in this league. Home court advantage hasn't been a thing in these playoffs. Home teams are like basically exactly 500. But when you have to go play at 52-80 with a very, very passionate crowd, like I do think that it has more of an effect.
Shout out. Sorry, not to cut you off. Shout out OKC's home court advantage.
Unbelievable.
I love I don't know. I kind of get like a Euro League or like a Euro basketball feel when they all got the shirts on in the sections, and they're rowdy, man. I like OKC fans, man. They're really passionate. They're really loud. It's also a hard environment to play. I want to give them credit for being loud too, man.
Oh, absolutely. It's a phenomenal atmosphere. Jokic was so great in this game. Can he replicate it? I mean, I think that he's the best offensive player ever, so maybe, but the last few games were a real struggle. Now, I did think that he made a couple of changes in this game that make a meaningful difference. First of all, obviously, him being able to hit the 3 is just absolutely game-changing because you see him weaponize the threat of the jump shot into a couple of fouls where he gets to the line late in this game. But he has been living out on the perimeter and from beyond the arc more than you would like if you're a Nuggets fan. But that's because every single post touch, he is seeing a baseline double from the Thunder. And oftentimes it's Chet Holmgren, who is just extremely disruptive as a rim protector. And if it's not him, it's going to be SGA or Caruso or somebody who is like psychotically active going after the ball. They've made life so damn hard on him in the paint as an interior scorer where he's normally at his best. And so he'd been relying on the 3-ball more, but it was off. When he makes 5 of 7 threes, that changes so much, and that opens up more for him in all facets of his game. So that's really, really big if he has found the jumper, and he found the touch. So the shot making was just flat out better. I also thought he was really aggressive the couple times when he saw single coverage. There was one Caruso switch where they didn't double, and he backed him down from like 18 feet and just got right to a little easy hook. There was another possession where he had Hartenstein basically in single coverage. Wiggins was coming to double him from the nail, but he just turned over his left shoulder, got to a lefty hook, and was able to get a clean look off. He really has not been willing to turn to that left shoulder, get that specific shot off. So that's valuable to see from him, even though it's only one possession. That being said, man, I do think that OKC is just better. And like, it's not by a big margin. I want to be clear. This Denver team is a completely different beast from what we saw in the regular season because of the level that they're defending at. Like, they are a serious ass defensive team, and that changes so much, and it makes them a team that is a threat to win the title. That being said, when you lose 2 of the 4 clutch games against the team that I do think is more talented, that I do think has more margin, that I do think has significantly better depth, that I do think has significantly better role players, that I would bet to win the non-superstar minutes, and they do again in this one. The Nuggets are actually, I think that they played even in the non-superstar minutes, but you expect them overall to win those minutes. Like, it's really hard to win in Denver. But this game was the roadmap for Denver to winning this series, or last game. And we've been in 4 clutch games out of 5 now. So there's a good chance that they do get another one.
That's why I think it's going to be tight. And I thought this was still like a relatively down game from J-Dub.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know. I'm just not ready to completely write off Denver. Like, I think MPJ could have a bounce back game. Maybe Rush shoots a little better. Brown, Gordon shoot a little better. Like, and if Jokic, the most important thing is that Jokic is confident and on. I mean, I don't think you can ever expect, even as great as Jokic is, expecting him to replicate this performance again, I think would be a lot, you know, but Jokic can give you another great game, and as long as his three-point touch is on, and as long as he's aggressive and confident, then I'd give them a chance. I mean, that's the fundamental basis, and I really like the level they've been defending at, like you mentioned. I think some things can swing back in their favor, and I just think all these games are going to be tight, man. These are 2 great basketball teams, and
they are.
I just expect every game to kind of come down to the wire, and who is going to grab it when it's in the balance late. They're the best series. You know, these type of series, in my opinion, are the best when you do get a lot of games like this, when it's who's going to step up to the plate. And tonight it was OKC, but And I think Murray can be better too. Carson, you mentioned that stretch, dude. I wrote that down immediately when Murray was going. I was like, oh shit, man. Murray's about to hit that mode. He's about to hit playoff Murray mode.
Mm-hmm.
I think he could be better down the stretch too, man. I expected a little bit more out of Jamal. So I don't know, man. It's a toss up. I think these teams are so balanced. I'm still rocking with my original prediction, Thunder in 7. I think they get it done on their home floor, but I trust Denver to handle business at home. And I do think home court's a big deal for Denver, and I expect another big Jokic game. So I'm going to take Denver in 6, but it sounds like to me you're on OKC's side.
I mean, for game 6 specifically, I don't have a strong opinion. I do think that OKC is going to win the series. I wouldn't write Denver off. I just think it would require Jokic rising to like such an absolutely special level. And my take on this series is if the superstars play not even necessarily to a draw, but if SGA plays up to his potential and SGA plays great basketball, the Thunder will win a clear majority of the games under those circumstances, especially when spot up shooters actually look comfortable and are knocking down the good looks that
There's
they're
such a
getting.
large that. Do you think that's the largest gap between these teams? I do.
The
Like just
shooting,
yeah.
it's probably just the defensive personnel. I mean, just the speed that OKC has, the collective
I
length
don't
and
even necessarily
athleticism.
mean that it's been reflected in the results, but I think that's like the biggest gap when I look at these teams' skill
It's a
sets.
big one.
Just like Oklahoma City has a myriad of guys that they can turn to that are really great shooters, and Denver just doesn't.
Oh, overall depth, I think, is probably the biggest difference.
I'm just saying, like,
Specifically,
if.
shooting is up there. And like
Hmm.
Denver obviously shot a high percentage from 3, but they were the second lowest volume 3-point shooting team in the league. And Christian Brown is a fake 40% 3-point shooter. He's not somebody who you consistently trust. Russell Westbrook, they can talk about his percentages from the corners all they want, and he's had some big shooting games in these playoffs, but he is highly erratic and he is not dependable in that role. OKC, I mean, it had been a slog for them shooting the 3 in games 3 and 4, but they did bounce back. And this is just a massive swing game to go their way, for everything to go right for them down the stretch, and for Denver to feel like they had this one and Jokic got to that level and they couldn't pull it out. It does feel significant emotionally. Not that I think Denver is going to be like down on their luck and that they're going to have any quit in them. That would really surprise me. They are former champions and they are fucking playing like it in this series. It's more significant for OKC, I think, to feel like, okay, we belong in these clutch spots. We can get the job done. We can make the right decisions. We can knock down the shots. That's what I think is really significant. I do want to give a couple of quick shout outs to some more Thunder. Alex Caruso, once again, just one of the dudes on the floor who looks totally comfortable and confident stepping into and knocking down shots off the catch. All the while, he makes some disruptive plays as usual defensively, not his best game defensively, just because he's had some absolute gems, but really good. Chet, I thought, was really good in this game. Very efficient, knocks down 1-3, wasn't forcing a bunch of attempts from beyond the arc, though, which I'm okay with because he hasn't been super comfortable, super good as a shooter in this series whatsoever. He'd been bad as a 3-point shooter coming into this one. But I thought that he was doing all of the stuff around that. I thought that he was phenomenal in the dunker spot, in cutting. I thought that he was really smart playing off the ball. And then he was able to use his half-court skill in a couple spots. I mean, he dusted Aaron Gordon off the bounce and got to a dunk. He had a great take versus Jamal Murray for an and one. He was handling well. He was under control. He was aggressive finishing at the rim. And then he was just sensational protecting the rim on the other side. My God, he is just absolutely incredible interior defender and rim protecting talent. I also thought that Isaiah Hartenstein was really good in this one. I thought that he came up with a couple of big rebounds. I thought that he was able to find the push shot a little bit. Oh, we have a beautiful Chet to iHeart big to big lob, which I can't forget. That also got me absolutely bricked. I love those moments more than anything, but it really was a nice collective performance from OKC. Down the stretch, though, it's just Shai rising to that special level. Now, he's got to maintain this because, like I said, this series has been peaks and valleys for him. You have game 2 where he looks totally in control. And then you have game 3 where it's like a complete reversal and he looks totally uncomfortable. And this game, again, there was a real two-sided performance from him. The first quarter was very, very different from the fourth quarter. So he has to be consistent. But if OKC shoots up to their level, I do think that they are the better team. But shout out to Denver, man. I do think that they're the biggest threat to OKC in the West, maybe in the field at this point, with Cleveland going down and obviously having their injury stuff, with Boston about to go down now that Tatum is out. I don't know if there's a scarier team that OKC could face. I think that Indiana is great. I think that Minnesota is really good. And I think that Minnesota is a tough matchup for OKC in a different way than Denver is. But like when Denver is playing at the level of like a fringe top 10 defense and they're bringing a scheme
I think Minnesota
that is very well designed to challenge you. Really?
I do.
I don't know. I think it's close. I think it's close.
I think Minnesota can just establish their brand of basketball, man. And the level that Randall's been at, the level that Ant's been able to reach in the second half of these games. Now, it's going to be interesting because it's obviously a different matchup, right? Like Ant against some of the elite perimeter defenders in basketball, two really high-level rim protectors. Like, I think it's going to be a big prove-it series for Ant in a lot of ways. And Randall, too. But I think Minnesota poses an interesting and they don't have that same depth issue that Denver has. You know, they've got a lot of guys they can turn to. So I actually would say Minnesota, man. I think they probably pose a little bit more of an interesting threat to OKC. Like, I think, and it's not close. I think all these teams are really close. I think I'm going to pick that series if we get it between either team, probably to go 7 as well. Like, it is neck and neck. But I wouldn't sleep on Minnesota, man. I've been super impressed with them.
I haven't been super impressed with them in this series against the Warriors. I think that they're getting a little too much praise for playing against a team that is extremely, extremely limited. Now, I have been super impressed by Randall. I do think that Ant in these last couple of games has found a really high level, and I think that Minnesota is a perfectly good choice. In fact, coming into this series, I said I thought that Minnesota was the biggest threat to OKC in the West. But Denver's been defending at a really impressive level for the entire playoffs now, for 2 series. And when they are doing that, their offense scares me a hell of a lot more than Minnesota's, even though I think Minnesota's offense is good. Like, they have Nikola Jokic, and still OKC has found a way to give them major trouble and to figure things out enough on the offensive end to move forward and take a huge 3-2 lead. We have some super chats. Indie Merchant Sam, thank you for another generous donation. Jokic might just be the GOAT. Good God. Incredible.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm going to go through and see
concur.
Where I think that this ranks among his best playoff games ever. Logan, entertain the people for a moment.
I mean, I'm kind of
say something about Jokic, Glaze Jokic.
Dude, I love him. He's my favorite player to watch. He might be, dude. Jokic is so nice.
Yeah. Man, I think that this has got to be in the top 3. I think that Game 5 against Minnesota, as I said, takes the cake. Yeah, honestly, I think that I thought of all the right ones.
Lakers games.
Boy, he had some great games against the Lakers.
Every game against the Lakers.
The game where he went 34, 21, and 14 against the Lakers.
What about the Suns game? Where do you put that one?
When he had 53?
Yeah.
Game 3 of that series? That's up there as well. So I'll take top 5.
It's so crazy, man. Jokic just... I don't know if I've ever seen a player make the game look as effortless when he's got it going as Jokic does, man. He makes it look so easy. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, LeBron, MJ, like all these legends, like they make the game. Jokic just makes the game look so easy when he's on, man. It looks like he's... It's so simple, man. It's amazing.
It is. Joel West says Jokic used the last of Denver's devil voodoo on that nasty turnaround 3. That's just what he does, man. As crazy as it is, he's done that too many times in the playoffs to call it devil voodoo. That's the Lakers.
Jokic just believes he can make every shot, and then he does.
Yeah, it's crazy. End of the shot clock. Dude, when he put that up, I literally said, fuck it, why not? I said that out loud to myself on the couch. Nobody was with me. But it was just like, at that point in the game, everything was going in for both teams, and I just had a feeling, man.
So did I.
Gabriel says, what do y'all think changed in Joker's offensive process today for him to bounce back, or did he simply lock in? I think that we've discussed that at this point, but thank you, Gabriel, for the generous donation. Is there anything else you want to add, Logan?
Yeah, I mean, I do think he locked in, but I think the majority of it had him to do with just being aggressive, being confident, and looking for his shot. He had been a little bit more, a little passive in some of these last couple of games. And also, I thought he did a much better job of just protecting the basketball. He had been kind of uncharacteristically reckless and just out of control, in terms of where I expect Jokic to be. But he did lock in. You know, in this life, Carson, you're either tweaking or you're locked in, and you don't want to be tweaking.
No, you definitely don't want to be tweaking, and he was locked in. I agree with what you said. I also just think the shot making got better for him, and I do think that, like, he knows what he's looking for now, right? He knows where the doubles are coming from. And so even though OKC is still executing the scheme very, very effectively, and it's given him a lot of trouble in games 2 through 4, there's a little bit more experience against it, which I think made him a little bit more prepared for this game. Maui says, Chet being hunted all game with the lack of strength and weight, health concern, you have to be an elite shooter like KD to be elite. Denver easily win with healthy MPJ. Maui, I always appreciate your generous donations. I don't know why you hate Chet Holmgren so much. And it's just not true. The only guy who is trying to get Chet off of switches is Nikola Jokic because he's 280 pounds.
Yeah, hunted is kind of crazy. I mean, Chet had some ridiculous blocks in this game and just some ridiculous moments. Also,
the number of times where Jamal has gone at the rim and just been like, ah, shit, man, midair. And he's also had some incredible finishes. But like against Chet, you either have to do something special to finish, or you have to pass out, or you're going to travel or miss badly. Like he's
arguably the best
technical rim protector in
game.
Basketball. I do think he's the best pure rim protector. Yeah, he's insane, dude. He's absolutely crazy. And I'm going to find Chet's rim protection numbers in these playoffs.
I was also kind of impressed with Chet in this game offensively, too. I thought some of the stuff, him getting to the rim, him being aggressive, like Chet's – it's freaky when Chet gets going offensively like that. I mean, it doesn't look natural. It really looks freakish.
He's an alien, bro. He's an alien. Chet Holmgren in these playoffs is holding opposing players to 46% shooting at the rim. So that's 19% below their average after – he held them 19% below their average in the regular season. Keep in mind, that's the best number I've ever seen posted in a season. Like, people always focus on the weight with Chet. When you are 7'1" with a 7'5" wingspan, and you have perfect timing, perfect instincts as a shot blocker, you're consistently vertical. Like, you can't score over that. It's been super hard for Jokic to score over him, especially when he's the backline defender. He has given him a ton of trouble. So thank you again, Maui. Stop with the Chet hate. Chet is that dude. Patrick Robertson, Nuggets fans, let's chill on the SGA is nothing but a foul baiter. Jokic was shamelessly foul hunting in the fourth quarter, and y'all have no comment on it. It's a fair point. Jokic grifted his way to the line twice. And the Jay Will one was just not a foul.
There's a lot of players. I just want refs to stop rewarding it. Like, there are so many like little... Let them play ball. I hate the interruption to the game, the way it slows it down. Like, there's a lot of interruptions already in the game, sometimes just inadvertently, and that's just an extra one. And it's weird, man. Beginning of these playoffs, I really felt like they were doing a good job of letting teams play and get really physical. And now that we've gotten deeper, I feel like some of these games, the refs have kind of reverted to old tendencies and blown on that whistle a little more.
Mm-hmm. Jokic is definitely not somebody who I would classify as a foul baiter, to be clear. I think that he generally gets a pretty tough whistle. I think that he's allowed to unleash a lot of physicality. I also think a ton of physicality is allowed against him. And for the rate at which he scores in the paint, his free throw rate is lower than you would expect, certainly. So I definitely don't think that he's the guy who anybody should try to make like the face of foul baiting. That being said, I don't think that SGA is either. And this is like as pure of a scoring game as you're going to get. Bro, I had somebody reply, and I shouldn't even look at my Twitter replies, but I did for this one after I talked about this special game down the stretch, and they were like, foul baiter SGA can't respect it. Brother, that was nothing but pure buckets down the stretch. Nothing but pure buckets. And guess what? This is one of the greatest shot-making guards we've ever seen. This is a guy who is unparalleled in his proficiency at the rim among guards. This is a guy who is unparalleled in his proficiency from the mid-range. This is a guy who this year was unparalleled in his efficiency out of pick and roll and isolation. This is a special bucket getter, a guy who is special at putting the ball in the basket in the field of play. He shot 4 actual free throws today before they just intentionally fouled him at the end. So yeah, get the fuck out of here with that. Nothing against Jokic, obviously, my offensive GOAT, but respect Shai because he is also incredible. And this was a huge, huge performance from him, man. These playoffs from him have not been as seamless as I would have liked and as I would have hoped. And this game wasn't even. But in the biggest moments, the biggest moment of his career, legitimately, was that fourth quarter. And holy shit, did he rise to the occasion. Enough about this game, even though I could talk about it all day. But biggest win the Thunder have had in a long time. Maybe since going to the 2012 finals. Like, obviously, they went up 3-1 against the Warriors in 2016. Didn't get the job done. That was a very big win. But to do it with this generation, with this core, to be here so fast, even though that was the expectation. Like just seeing them actually rise to the challenge of Denver when Jokic is at their best and they're at their best defensively. Like it was still a moment. It was a real moment for them. And I'm very, very excited to see where they go from here. And I'm proud of the fellas. We're going to take a quick break. Then we will talk about the Pacers advancing and we will talk about what's next for the Cavs after some quick words from DraftKings. The NBA 82 game grind is done, and now the real fun begins. The NBA playoffs are here, and it's time for all the high stakes drama, clutch moments, and jaw dropping plays. I can't wait. If you're looking to make the playoffs even more exciting, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered as an official sports betting partner of the NBA. From the play-in games all the way through to the finals, now's the time to back your favorite players and teams as they chase glory.
All season long, DraftKings has been the go-to spot for NBA player props, and that doesn't stop now. Want to make your playoff experience even more intense? Try placing a bet on your favorite player's performance. Will they drop 30 points, 40, or more? It's your call. Ready to place your first bet? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, lock in your bets, and let's make this playoff run unforgettable.
Here's something special for first timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Make it a playoff run to remember with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code NERDS. That's code NERDS for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. The Indiana Pacers, Logan, are advancing to their second consecutive Eastern Conference Finals. They come out with a clutch win over the Cleveland Cavaliers. What do you have to say about them Indiana Pacers getting the job done?
Back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals appearances for this team, and I think we need to rain a little bit more praise on the boy Tyrese Haliburton, man. He's one of the best offensive engines in basketball.
You're speaking my language.
Dude, they tried to say this dude was overrated. And I love it, man, because I think Hallie has taken that chip on his shoulder and proven himself in a big way. I mean, how many clutch moments and just how many times he had to come through. And what I really liked in this game and what I really hope to see more from Haliburton as he ascends, because I think Haliburton's arguably a superstar already. I would argue with the level of success that he has had, his accolades, but most importantly, the team success. The fact that now this is back-to-back ECF appearances, which is not easy. The Pacers haven't done this since 2013 and 2014. And I just think that if we really see him get to this consistent level of aggression, that he is going to be widely considered. I think that tends to get overblown with him, but it was noticeable in this game how aggressive he was, man. He gives you a 30-piece in this game, but also Haliburton just so consistently makes the right decision down the floor. And we always talk about that, but I think it might be, we always talk about undervalued archetypes, Carson, like the defensive big and stuff like that. I mean, I think one of the most underrated intangibles is just decision-making. Are you going to make the right decision down the floor? And Haliburton, that's why I loved him when he was a young player in Sacramento, man, the seamless fit. And I didn't see this kind of ability from him, but he was always brilliant and just so smart, and it just works. And I want to give a lot of credit to Indiana as a collective, too, just this team and the shooting that they have, and all of them make really great decisions. But Haliburton is the reason that this offense is great, that this team is great, and that they are going to back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals, man. Recognize Haliburton needs to be fully appreciated, and I think he's done that in these playoffs, man. I think that a lot of people are going to have to respect him, dude. He dominated the Cavs down the stretch, and it sucks for them because they're not at full strength, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I think people have got to start respecting and recognizing that Tyrese Haliburton is one of the best offensive engines in basketball, man.
You're preaching to the choir, and I would add on to that just recognizing that the Indiana Pacers are one of the absolute best teams in the league.
Can I correct something?
Yes.
Last episode, we did the Cleveland versus Indiana versus who was the third offense?
The Knicks.
The Knicks. I would still have New York above Cleveland. I'm okay with that one. I would put Indiana above everybody else.
Okay. I think that Indiana is certainly a better offense than the Knicks, as I said. I also think that the Cavs, when they're right, when they're healthy, are absolutely a better offense than the Knicks. We already talked about this, but they have a lot more creation because they have multiple elite guard creators. They have more ball handling from the perimeter in general. They have a lot more three-point shooting. They were top 3 in threes made and three-point percentage. I think that they're a better collective ball movement team. I think they're a better collective cutting team. I think that they have better play finishing. I think that they have fewer non-threats offensively compared to the Knicks. I think that they have better depth. I think that the Cavs are a better offense.
Who's a non-threat? What, like Josh Hart?
Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson, like really limited offensive players. None of those guys see the floor for the Cavs. Everybody is an offensive weapon in some way for them. It's a special offense, but the Pacers are a special offense. My God, I mean, they have been the most reliably great offense in this postseason, and they've just been an excellent basketball team for 3/4 of the year now. I read off these numbers after game 4, but they're 45-15 in their last 60 games with Tyrese Haliburton. Since that slow start, they have been playing at better than a 60-win pace. And it kind of cracks me up when I see these takes about the Pacers of people being like, oh, they have devil magic or they get lucky or whatever. Because, like, that's just crazy to me. When I watch the Indiana Pacers, I don't see a team that's getting lucky. I see a team with the most consistently great offense in basketball that shares the ball better than anybody else, that gets easy offense in transition more consistently than anybody else, that capitalizes on defense's lapses more consistently than anybody else, that's as deep as anybody. Like, they were the number 1 playoff offense last year. They're the number 2 playoff offense this year. That's not a coincidence. That's not a fluke. That's not devil magic. That's great basketball. And the guy who drives it is Tyrese Haliburton, who was just absolutely sensational today and really kept them in the game in the first half. He was 5 of 6 from deep in that first half and was just targeting Jared Allen relentlessly, who has had a really, really difficult time guarding Tyrese Haliburton in this series. I mean, he's gotten abused off of switches a number of times by Hallie, but 4 of Haliburton's threes in the first half came when he went at Jared Allen. 1 was off a switch. 1 was versus Allen playing drop because he had gotten toasted off the switch. And then 2 of them were off of defensive miscommunications where it looked like Allen wanted to play drop, but I think it was Garland wanted to switch. And so Hallie just walked into an open pull-up 3. The other one, Siakam came and set a flare screen. Allen just seemed oblivious to it. I don't know what was going on with Jared Allen today. I thought he was spacey. I thought he was out of it. And honestly, I thought it was kind of an unacceptable performance from him in a do or die game. But Hallie had his way with Jared Allen all series. But also, like, yes, he's going to dazzle you with some of those moments on ball with his shot making, with his scoring. But it's the all-around offensive impact with him. It's the versatility. He's great playing off the catch, and so he can fit into your offensive attack seamlessly and be so efficient there. He blew by Ty Jerome a couple times in this game. And then he's weaponizing his scoring threat to create great shots for his teammates. They started blitzing him in this game down the stretch. You can't blitz Tyrese Haliburton. He's too good a decision maker. He's too good a passer. And the offensive pieces around him are too good. Like, they're going to take advantage of that consistently. So once again, man, he just gets you great shot after great shot. And if you don't get his impact by now, you just aren't paying attention and you are just way late to the party, man. It's not always going to show up in the box score. It absolutely did tonight. But in terms of the team results, in terms of the shot quality that he gets you possession after possession, if that's him scoring the basketball, if that's him drawing to, if that's him collapsing the defense and kicking out, and maybe he doesn't get the assist, maybe it's a hockey assist, you're going to get a really good shot when Hallie is on the floor and he's dictating your offense. And then he's also going to fit in and be selfless and just, like, what a beautiful offensive basketball player. What a special offensive talent. I was thinking today, there's a lot of parallels between Tyrese Haliburton and Reggie Miller. Now, obviously they play basketball very differently, but you got 2 Pacers greats, both of whom are very unique offensive geniuses and offensive engines. And because of that, I think that they get misunderstood and they get underrated a lot because, like, neither of their impact is going to be fully captured in the box score. With Reggie, it was his hyper efficiency as a scorer. It was his elite, unparalleled shooting threat at the time. His unmatched off-ball movement. Like, he was constantly stressing defenses, drawing 2 away from the ball. Like, think about the guy who basically originated gravity as we know it. That was consistently creating easier offense for his teammates. And that's why the Pacers were an automatic top 8 offense for a decade with Reggie Miller, even as the personnel around him sort of shifted in and out. He was that consistent, great offensive engine. With Hallie, I've talked about it. It's not always volume scoring. It's not always even necessarily crazy assist numbers, although the assist numbers are consistently high. It's that flawless decision making and the ability to always put you in excellent offensive positions in the half court, in transition, pushing pace, being as efficient as he is out of every play type, the on-ball value, the off-ball value. Neither of them are going to have like the consistent nights where they're scoring 30. Like even Reggie, his scoring volume wasn't necessarily insane, but the efficiency, the value of it was. So I was just thinking about that, man. It's kind of fitting, unfortunately, that like the Pacers would be underestimated because this is a franchise that's consistently been really damn good, man. Since 1990, they've made the playoffs 27 times. Only the Spurs have made it more. That's insanely impressive to do as a small market. And yet they never really get that love. They never really get that attention. And unfortunately, I think the same is true for their best players, but I appreciate them and I love them both. I think they're both wildly underrated, Reggie and Hallie.
Yeah, they're both polarizing too. I mean,
Very true. And they both like to talk some shit.
Yeah. Reggie shaped defenses, man, or defenses shaped their coverages around Reggie. And the thing with Hallie is it's like when you're dealing with a good decision maker, that's what sucks about playing him is he's always going to make you pick your poison, and Haliburton's going to go with the other thing, and he's going to kill you with that. And it's really hard to stop. I kind of would equate Haliburton closer to like a Steve Nash type, just in the sense that like, you know,
absolutely.
Again, like the box score just isn't fully going to really represent all that they're doing offensively and on the court. And they're so consistently great and smart situationally. Like these guys are just masterminds of basketball that always understand the situation. They know where the advantage is going to be. They know where the opportunity is. Like just little stuff like pushing the ball in fast break opportunity. I think Halliburton's the best at that in basketball. Like those hit-ahead passes and finding guys on the break when the defense isn't set up. Like, you know, Jokic is great too, and there are some other guys, but Hallie to me is the best. And Indiana generates more points off that, I feel like, than anybody else that I watch. And Hallie's awesome, man. And I'm you know, I was wrong because I doubted the Pacers too, but I do feel a little bit vindicated just about Haliburton and how we viewed him as a player, that he's done this in back-to-back seasons now. And I want to put a lot of these point guard conversations to bed. I'm so dead ass. I don't want to talk about these anymore. I don't want to talk about Hallie versus Ja Morant at all. I'm completely done. I'm over that. I don't want to talk Haliburton versus De'Aaron Fox at all anymore. I said that back when they did the Haliburton-Fox trade, that I would rather have Haliburton for the future, and I feel like I have been proven right in that. Like, I feel like Haliburton has very clearly cemented himself in the upper echelon of lead guards, even from a Trae Young or a Cade Cunningham, who are both great basketball players. I think he is in this Brunson-Steph tier where he belongs. And, I mean, I
don't know about Steph tier.
Well, I mean, Steph is... It's in that he's closer to that Brunson tier, but I'm saying all of those guys are relatively close among the best point guards in basketball. Like I would still take Brunson, but it's like Steph, Brunson, Hallie, and like Luka.
I just think Steph's in a different tier from those guys. I think his offensive impact is still historic, and I think all you have to do is watch the Warriors without him this year and their 88 offensive rating without him in the playoffs.
Best point guards in basketball. That's all I'm saying.
I agree. I think he's top 5. I mean, we ranked our top 30 players not too long ago, and there's some things on that list that I wish I could change. My placement of Tyrese Haliburton is not one of them. Maybe I would want to move him up a spot or two, but I had him at number 18. So the only point guards who I had above him were Shai, Luka, Steph, and Brunson. And I think that with the consistent elite team offensive results that he churns out, that's very appropriate. In terms of just like as a building block who I can build around, there's so many different archetypes that can thrive alongside Hallie. He can play with other ball handling guards and be excellent because of his off ball value. Any sort of play finisher is going to thrive alongside him. Shooters, at rim, finishing bigs. He's going to get everybody so much easy offense because he plays with pace at such an incredibly high level. So I agree. I think a lot of those conversations have been silly, and we've been consistent with our pro Hallie stance. But I saw a great tweet the other day. Somebody was basically like, Hallie's just going to keep leading the Pacers to 50-win seasons and Eastern Conference Finals appearances, and people are going to keep proposing like various versions of would you rather with him against like different iterations of DeJounte Murray. Just like dudes who are going to maybe put up bigger box score numbers.
That's so ridiculous, man.
Well, I think maybe it stops. Maybe it stops if he gets into the finals. And that could change the narrative. But we have seen that. People were debating Austin Reeves versus Tyrese Haliburton a couple months ago. Yeah, a lot of people just don't get it. But now I think you have to get it. And if you're watching the Pacers, I think that you get it. I do want to give props to everybody, though, because it's always a collective effort with Indiana. Their depth is so special. Their entire starting five is so well rounded. Miles Turner's rim protection was just incredible in this game. He has 4 blocks, and I thought made it exceedingly difficult for Cleveland
Mm-hmm.
to score at the rim and in the paint.
Dude, I thought Indiana's shout out Miles. I thought he was great. I thought Indiana's transition defense in this game was
Oh my
excellent.
God, dude. And to be fair, like the one play that sticks out in my mind is when Donovan Mitchell like fully slows up. He's got a breakaway layup. And then I think it's Miles Turner who comes in and blocks that shot. But I thought that their transition defense was excellent. I totally agree. And that's where the Cavs were like trying to get out and find some easy offense to get back into this game because their half court offense was not looking good. And Indiana did a great job of preventing that. But this is just the best defensively Miles Turner's ever played. I think it's the best basketball he's ever played. 2.5 blocks a game in these playoffs, holding players 6% below their average at the rim. Really, really good two-way stuff from him. He hits a couple big shots as well. Nembhard hits a couple big shots, as he always does, giving you 15.6 assists a game on 63% true shooting in these playoffs. What an absolute dog. He is a big and one over Garland to basically put this game to bed. Siakam was pretty good. Like, it's a special group, man. It's a special offense, and it has been for a couple years, but with their collective defensive improvement and buy-in, and that includes everybody. Hallie makes another huge defensive play that leads to a breakaway layup late in this game, and he's made a number of clutch defensive plays in this playoff run. He's taken a legitimate defensive leap this year. Back-to-back conference finals appearances is very impressive, and it is very well-deserved. And as I've said, this is a team that absolutely can win the title. With their defensive improvement, there is nobody who I look at and say they can't beat them. I'm going to pick OKC to beat everybody. I'm going to pick OKC to beat everybody. But Indiana's offense has a consistency that nobody else in the remaining playoff field is going to match, and that's a weapon that is really special, and it gives them a chance against anybody. Would you like to talk about the Cavs side of this, Logan? Where did things go wrong for them? Let's start with that before we move on to what's next and talk about their future.
Yeah, I mean, this was disappointing for them just because you got Mitchell and Garland dealing with such significant injuries that are clearly hampering both of them, which is just brutal. It's really hard to overcome.
Hard to watch, man.
Very.
Hard to watch
What did you
Darius
think?
Garland just fall down for the 18th time this series because his toe is fucked.
You were talking about Jared Allen struggling individually versus Halliburton. What did you think about the Cavs' option to close with out Allen or Garland for a lot of the fourth quarter? Because I understand riding the hot hand, and Ty Jerome hit some big shots. DeAndre Hunter hit some big shots too.
Mm-hmm.
I thought either one of those guys, both of those guys should have been off, or a combination of both of those guys and Max Strus should have been off the floor for Garland and Allen. And I understand that neither of them had the best game, but I just think in that situation, and like I said, I understand Atkinson maybe wanting to run with the hot hand, but I would have much rather have just gone down with my best five and ridden it out. I
I
don't know. I
liked
thought
it.
Jerome and Hunter were pretty bad down the stretch after they had that little good spurt.
I mean, Ty made some plays. Now, he got targeted defensively a couple times. He also had 2 steals in this game, or at least he made 2 plays that led to steals. It's tough because just like Garland was an absolute shell of himself, man. And it's not just like, oh, he's having a bad game. It's like for 3 games, he hasn't been able to show you nearly the same level of burst that you're used to. Again, he's falling down. He's dribbling the ball off his foot. Like he is just so clearly so affected by the toe. It's one of the most obviously impactful injuries that I've seen a player play through in a while. Like he just wasn't the same. And it was very obvious why. That being said, he also just missed a couple good looks. He missed a couple looks from 3 that he really should have made. He should make as Darius Garland, one of the best shooters on the planet. So Ty was able to come in and give them a little spark and actually create some separation and make a couple shots. And then they end
Well,
up
I mean, that
closing with
offense was
Garland.
in a drought before he hit those shots.
Exactly. It was like he was the savior for a moment. And it's not like they rode him for too long. And Allen, I thought was just bad in this game. I mean, I didn't think that he was good on the glass. I thought that he was bad
I
defensively. He
just
has a couple
specifically,
turnovers.
I didn't like the fact that for a little bit too, they didn't have Mobley or Allen on the floor, and it was
That
this
was weird.
super weird lineup where
That was
I
brief, but that I didn't like.
Thomas Bryant had like two dunks or just two really easy looks inside where I just thought if you have one of Allen or Mobley on the floor, that's just like, come
They had
on,
no
bruh.
rim protection. They had
I,
no rim
I watched
protection for a couple
I
minutes.
watched Thomas Bryant take the worst baseline turnaround I've ever seen today, and you're letting that guy serve you late buckets like that. I just didn't understand some of the rotation stuff late with Kenny Atkinson.
It's tough because Garland was really bad, and I thought that Allen was pretty bad in this game, and the Cavs' depth is one of their strengths, so I was okay with it. I was okay with him going with a couple of those other guys for as long as he did. This is really disappointing for the Cavs, and it's really just about the guards not being able to generate the offense that they needed. Like, clearly both these guys were significantly hampered by the injury. It was probably more obvious with Garland, but I think you very clearly saw it with Mitchell too. I mean, he aggravated the ankle last game, didn't play in the second half of last game. So it was clearly a significant thing. He's grabbing at his ankle a bunch and like just not as explosive. If you watch Donovan Mitchell, if you watch Darius Garland play basketball healthy, like you know that those aren't the guys who we saw out there today. Neither of them were capable of getting downhill at the level that we're used to. And so like they couldn't pressure the rim consistently and they weren't getting into the paint even to pass out. And I will say, as much as I think their injuries are significant components in their struggles in this game, I also didn't like their process. They really were not moving the ball. Those two combined for 4 assists. And like you could tell from the first quarter, Indiana's offense started a little slow, so Cleveland had a lead early, but like Mitchell and Garland were putting up some tough shots, and it was very stagnant and it was very jump shot reliant. And yeah, they both shoot poorly and they miss a couple shots that they should make, but they were just wildly inefficient and like really got nothing going until Mitchell just started stepping up and made a few big threes in the fourth quarter, late in the fourth quarter specifically. He also got to the line a good bit. He was able to get downhill more than Garland. Garland, even when he could get downhill, really couldn't finish. Like he gives you 11 points, 3 assists, 5 turnovers on 4 of 16 from the field. Just brutal, just hard to watch. And Mitchell was obviously better. He ends this game with 35 points. Like he gets his, but still a real struggle. He still shot 8 of 25 from the field and again had 1 assist. So I didn't like any of it. The process, the shot making, obviously the injuries being a significant factor. It was all really rough for the guards. Also, Max Strus was awful. I've defended Max Strus throughout these playoffs as one of the better offensive role players in basketball. The Max Strus haters are dancing on his grave today because, geez, Louise, man. 0 of 9 from the field and some bad shots. Like, there were so many threes that Cleveland took today where I was like, yeah, that's rushed. That's leaning. That's at a weird angle. That's well contested. Just really not the offense that we're used to seeing. And that all starts with the guards not being able to create the same shots that they normally can. So that's the most significant factor in this one for sure. I do want to give props to Evan Mobley for being great in this game. Like when so many dudes around him were struggling, he was dominating the offensive glass, which we knew was a huge key to Cleveland winning in this series. That was a huge part of their formula in game 3. He gets them 5 offensive rebounds. That was really big. And also, he was really good creating off the bounce. And that's been a struggle for him in this series because Indiana extends their defense so far out. They pressure the ball so much. Like Mobley is comfortable handling for a 7-footer, but he's not comfortable handling against that sort of pressure usually. But he was able to handle and then get himself good position in the paint and then get to his little hooks, get to his little touch shots. And so I thought that it was a really, really good performance from him. I also thought that he was excellent defensively, protecting the rim in this one. So if you're going to find a silver lining in this game, it has to be Mobley's performance and him going out on a high note. Like he's playing through a little bit of an injury as well. And this wasn't the best series from him, I guess, but game 3 was really good. Game 5 was phenomenal, and he got better as it went along, and he didn't fade. He stayed aggressive. He got more comfortable against a challenging defense. For a guy as young as he is, who's taken such a significant leap in 1 year offensively, I think that that's very encouraging. He also shot 45% from 3 in these playoffs. On like legitimate volume, he was taking more than 4 threes a game. So that's really encouraging, seeing his shooting hold up in the playoffs. There's a couple that he takes throughout the course of these playoffs where it's like, maybe I don't want you putting up that look necessarily against a contest. Maybe it's a little rushed, but overall him shooting that well, super impressive, super significant. And I think you have to feel good about his performance. It wasn't easy. It's not going to be easy for a player as young as he is taking on a much bigger role in the playoffs. But this game was really impressive. It really was.
I was really impressed with Mobley, especially with the struggles of Mitchell and Garland. And I mean, Mitchell gets to the line a lot, but and you texted this, I think. You were talking about how it looked like Mitchell was just like he would be finishing these if he was fully healthy, and it really did look like Mitchell was just like one step slower than normal. A lot of possessions. Like I remember one Matherin has this chase down block on him in transition where he just takes like
That's
an
what it
extra
was.
second to gather himself, and
Yeah.
it's just like that's just never, you know what I mean? Like that was kind of an encapsulation of the whole game, and then the three missed free throws late.
That
But
was rough.
Mobley, I thought was fantastic, and Carson, you and I have floated this idea around for a while. I actually do think it might be time for the Cavs to move on from Jared Allen, and the
Okay.
reason I say this is not because I don't think Allen and Mobley can work, or not because I think Allen's on a horrible contract. I think that the Cavs just don't need Jared Allen as much, and I think their spacing and offense could become even more elite if they leaned into Mobley at the five. I think this team is at its best defensively and offensively when Evan Mobley is at the five, and he can anchor it. He's just a game-changing player at that position. And more importantly, I think Jared Allen is a very intriguing asset in the league today. You know, this is a guy who can rebound at a high level, who can protect the rim, who's got, you know, really good touch on the inside now with his baby hooks and stuff. A little bit of that short roll playmaking, you know, and
Hmm.
stuff like that. And he's a good roll man. Like, it's not because I don't think they can work. It's not because I hate the fit. It's not because of the money or anything like that. It's simply because I think they could get a piece that fits in a little bit better. You know, ideally like a more skilled big wing or something like that. I think could work. This is gonna suck because it's the guy they're playing, but it's like the ideal guy I look at is a guy like Pascal Siakam, where I go, man, he would be like an awesome fit. Eh, That player
Let me ask you
doesn't, you know.
somebody else.
Yeah, sure.
There's
What about
one
Markkinen,
idea
maybe?
who comes to mind. Marketing? That's
But I don't
interesting.
really think the Jazz would be interested in Allen.
No, I don't think so. I think that they want just straight up assets if they're going to move off of Lowry. Now, this team also is going to be looking for assets, certainly more than they're looking for a Jared Allen, but you attach a little draft capital. I don't think it's the package they're looking for, but my holdup with the Cavs trading Jared Allen has not been that I disagree with any of what you said. I do think that Mobley is at his best at the five, and he has shown that he is more than capable of anchoring elite defense at the five. In fact, the Cavs had a better defense this year when Mobley was on the floor without Allen than when they were both out there together, or than when Allen was out there alone. And just with optimal spacing around him getting all those play finishing opportunities, him not being asked to live on the perimeter as consistently, like that being more of the garnish and the extra stuff for his game. I think that that's when he's at his best. And long term, I would like to see that. My holdup has just been Jared Allen is making $20 million right now. That is an insane value contract. You're not going to get a top 50 player for $20 million a year very often at all. However, I was thinking there is one guy who's really good and who is on a very reasonable contract, basically that exact same size for the next 3 years or the next 2 years after this. And he's in that archetype you were talking about. What about Cam Johnson? How would you like him for the Cavs?
Mm.
Oh, it's not a big enough fish. I think the
Hmm.
fit is really good. I think this offense becomes unstoppable. Now, obviously, you have to
I
find
do
another
think he's.
rotational big. That's another
Yeah, I
challenge of
do
moving
think.
off of Allen.
Well, I do think he's better than Dre.
Yeah.
You know, I like Dean Wade off the bench is a front court playable asset. I still think
Good
you
Dean Wade
need.
minutes tonight. Good Dean Wade minutes tonight.
Dean Wade's solid. I do think you need another backup big, but that's
Absolutely.
intriguing, man. I hadn't thought about Cam, and the reason I'm hesitant is maybe the name value. But he played really, really well in a difficult situation this year, man. I gotta think that he would be he would play even better if his job was that much easier, man. Getting manufactured easy looks, and I think it helps the spacing. Like Mobley may be even better as a roll man and a lob threat with all that space to work inside or
Yeah.
running inverted pick and roll. I think that makes the Cavs offense even better. That's interesting. I'm kind of 50-50 on that. I think
Okay.
what's in it for Brooklyn? Like, why would they do that?
Well, that's the problem. I don't think that they would, because
Mm-hmm.
I think that they're looking for multiple first-round picks for Cam Johnson, more so than they're looking
So
for a player like Jared Allen. That
mhm.
was just the first one I could think of,
I like
because my
that.
inclination was I don't think they should move off of Allen. And the reason I say that is because, again, I do think that his contract is such good value for them, and he is a really good player. And the fit with Mobley really does work. Do I think Mobley is at his best at the 5? Yes. But is he still really good at the 4? Yes. Is the Cavs double big lineup really effective? Absolutely. It is. And if you do move off of Allen, well, then now, like, you aren't just moving off of a talented basketball player. You have to figure out, okay, who is that good big who we're bringing in? Because right now they have 48 minutes of awesome big man play. And you're going to get 16 minutes when Mobley and Allen are out there together. You're going to get 16 minutes when it's just Mobley. You're going to get 16 minutes when it's just Allen. That works really damn well for them. They have been dominant with all of those different lineup configurations. So I'm not forcing it if I'm the Cavs. Like, my take is they don't need to do anything major whatsoever this offseason. I understand that some people are going to be like, well, hold on, this is a wildly disappointing end to the season. Of course, they have to change things up. I think this is a very difficult series to judge for them because of a number of factors. They shot the ball unusually poorly, just like terrible three-point shooting in this series. I didn't like a lot of those shots in this game, but earlier in the series, they were missing good looks from deep, and they're an elite three-point shooting team. Donovan Mitchell was off as a shooter this entire series. But obviously, like, they were also just super banged up, and their best players were not able to play their best basketball when you look at Mitchell and Garland because of the injuries, especially Garland. And their offense just wasn't able to get the same rhythm that we're used to because their guys weren't out there. So everything was thrown off by some very unfortunately timed injuries. I do think that there are a couple of things that the Cavs need to improve upon. Like, I think that they need to be a bit more prepared for playoff physicality. That's an area in which I thought that they maybe shrank from the moment a little bit. And I wonder if some of the shooting issues that they had are mental, just because, like, there is an element of playoff inexperience. This team has been there. Most of these guys have been in the playoffs, but they don't really have deep playoff experience. My take, though, is all of that stuff is going to get better with time. All of that stuff that I just talked about is going to naturally improve. And I do believe that this core is great. And if people say, oh, this is the same group that failed last year and the year before that, it's just not. Like, Garland took a big leap this season. He was a different basketball player, and then he just wasn't healthy for the playoffs. Mobley took a big leap. This is a dramatically better team than the one that lost in the second round last year. Even though they go out in the same round of the playoffs, the circumstances are so dramatically different. So I think they have all the talent and they have the time. Like, give yourself a chance to get healthy for next year. Mitchell is 28, Allen is 27, Garland is 25, Mobley is 23, and is just going to continue getting better. Give it another year, because you look around the East, Jason Tatum is out for the year, man. Like, you are in position to be top dogs in the conference when you're at full strength. I don't think that they need to change things up. If there's a great deal out there to be made with Allen, that's the one that I would consider. Other than that, like, I need to see them fail in a playoff run when they are actually at full strength. Because maybe there's a world in which I'm like, okay, the Garland Mitchell backcourt, it's too small defensively, too exploitable, limits them on the glass. You can attack Garland too much, whatever. But right now, my thought is, like, offensively, they're so special when Garland is right. That's why you have Evan Mobley and Jared Allen as backline defenders. That's why you have a really good group of wings. Like, think that they can win the title. And because of that, when they have the luxury of time, because their core is still pretty young in the scheme of things, I'm not forcing it. I'm not rushing. I'm not panicking any sort of move.
I mean, I know it's disappointing the way the season ended, but I think overall it's got to be an encouraging season. Darius Garland
Yeah.
bounced back in a big way. Like, Evan Mobley won Defensive Player of the Year. It's
He
like you
won
got hit with
64
some.
games.
Yeah, I think you're just ignoring some very important context, and it just ended up being pretty unfortunate. Just how things broke for Cleveland. I don't look at this as like a failure or anything. Again, it's disappointing, but I think people that are going to draw major conclusions like the Cavs can't get it done or something like that are just overreacting to this. And I don't want to take anything
Mm-hmm.
away from Indiana. Indiana's really damn good, and I think they
Oh, yeah.
proved that in this series, that they are very, very legitimate. They're here. They're not going anywhere. Like, they demand respect. Indiana
Mm-hmm.
has demanded that. And so I want to give them a ton of credit too. But I agree with you, Carson. I wouldn't be in a rush to do anything dire right now.
Yeah.
Your guys are young. Mobley's getting better. Garland's still getting better. Again, if that Allen trade presents itself and you think it's beneficial for your roster and you're comfortable finding another backup big, go for it. But like I said, I wouldn't be in a rush to do anything drastic or dire.
Give it another year, man. I need to see that there are
And
roster issues, not health issues, that infect everything else.
also, I mean, like, I still like a lot of these guys on this roster too, like DeAndre Hunter,
Their depth is
Max
great.
Strus, Ty Jerome. There's Dean Wade. Like they've got a lot of different guys that can give you contributions on a given night. And
the good news is Ty Jerome just played his way out of a contract. You're gonna get him back for chump change.
That actually is a great point, Carson. They just might.
You got to think about it, man. They weren't going to win the series anyways with all the injuries. So Ty having a disaster class is a good thing because he's actually nice as fuck. We all know that. He was the best offensive bench guard in basketball this year. Now they're going to get him back on a discounted contract. That's a win. I really think give it another year, and then we'll see what happens from there. But I do believe in the Cavs. And listen, man, the 2015 Hawks stuff, it's got to stop. That team was not as talented. That team was not as good. That team was not as successful in the regular season, even. I understand they won a lot of games, but like if you just look at net rating, the Cavs were top 20 in NBA history. The Hawks were like at 200. And like that was the end of the line for them, man. Those guys were all old. Obviously, Big Al Horford has managed to stick around for a long ass time after, but that core was old.
Also,
Korver was old. Millsap was old. Jeff Teague wasn't old, but like this is a group that still has so much more room to grow, and they're just more talented.
Some of that, exactly. Some of that was fake, man. Like you got all-star Kyle Korver. Like shout out Kyle Korver, man. But come on, dude. Like there's levels to this. Like you had Damari Carroll. Like the Cavs are in a different tier to me, man. I think that Hawks team was a byproduct of a comically weak East, and that's it. I think the Cavs are for real.
I mean, they posted a top 10 relative offense in NBA history this year, man. They're dominant. They were dominant. And I want to see them run it back. That being said, I can't give enough congratulations to the Indiana Pacers. And I will say, just as a basketball fan, I would be overjoyed to see them in the finals. Like, I think they are probably the most fun watch in the NBA right now. Hallie is one of my favorite players, definitely in my top 10 easily.
I'm going to just also talk a ton of shit if the Pacers go deep, man.
Oh, fire me up. I mean, it's so good for the Hallie agendas, but they're also just a franchise that I have a lot of respect and a lot of appreciation for, man. Like I said, I think it's really exceptional to do what they've done as a small market for as long as they have. And it would be dope to see. So, like, they're going to get the Knicks in all likelihood, unless the Celtics pull off a miracle without Jason Tatum, which I don't see happening. And so, obviously, there's going to be a lot of hype around the Knicks, but I'm going to pick Indiana. I'm going to pick Indiana to get to the finals. And I don't know. It just fires me up. There's something about a Pacers deep run, man. It excites me. Like, I love the Paul George teams. I love the Reggie teams. I love the 2000 team that made the finals. Just excites me. Really excites me. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they can get done from here. Appreciate all you guys tuning in. What a day of basketball. What a time to be alive, Logan. How lucky are we to be NBA fans? Charlie Kirk thinks we're all bums. Charlie Kirk thinks the NBA is unwatchable. Unfortunately, I saw that tweet forced down my throat the other day.
Numbskull, thanks, man.
Amen to that, dude. I blocked him. I said, Charlie Kirk, you can't contact me anymore. You can't keep sending me these nasty pictures of your feet. I'm not interested. And also, I don't want to hear your takes about NBA basketball because you don't know anything.
You could forward me those if you want.
That's you son of a bitch. You son of a bitch. Well, all right. Let's just say let's no more basketball talk for Charlie Kirk.
How about no talk at all? We'll just
amen.
We'll just zip his mouth shut. I have a great idea though, Carson.
Yeah.
So today was such an excellent day of basketball. I had this crazy radical idea.
Yeah.
Let's run it back.
Tomorrow?
Let's do it again.
Is that legal?
Yeah.
Holy
shit. I think it's within our rights.
Well, we're going to be back tomorrow. In fact, we're both court mandated to do a show every night. So we will see you guys here. Will they be able to recreate the magic of tonight? Maybe not. Hard to say. But I'm excited all the same. It's playoff basketball, baby. Doesn't get better than that. We got 2 potential closeout games. You know that we got to be back here. And we hope that you guys are here with us. If you want to join us, you know where to find us on our YouTube channel. You can watch our live stream, or you can watch it after the fact, or you can listen to the full episode after the fact across all audio platforms. You can also check us out across social if you want. TikTok, Instagram at NerdSesh, Twitter at Nerd_Sesh to see clips from the show, graphics from the show, and of course, all of our short form trivia content. And if you want to chat with the gang and be part of our community over on Discord, you can do so by joining at the link that is in our link tree And that is across all of our social media bios. So with that, as always, appreciate you guys. I've been Carson Brabber.
I have been Logan Camden.
And this was Nerd Sesh.